Chapter 7. People in Space. More than 450 astronauts have seen Earth from space. They have done experiments, visited the moon, and taught us a lot about our solar system. Would you like to travel in space? The first astronauts. In 1957, Russia sent the first rocket into space. It took a machine called a satellite. Then on the 12th of April 1961, another Russian rocket called Vostok carried a small spacecraft into space. Inside there was a man called Yuri Gagarin. He was the first person in space. His spacecraft orbited Earth for 108 minutes and then returned to Earth. Later, Russia and America built bigger and better rockets, and more astronauts went into space.
Discover!
Today, hundreds of satellites orbit Earth. We use them to study the weather, to take photos, and to do lots of other things. Astronauts on the Moon. In 1968, astronauts in the Apollo 8 spacecraft orbited the moon for the first time. Then on July 21, 1969, the Apollo 11 spacecraft landed on the moon. Millions of people watched on television when two American astronauts called Neil Armstrong and Edwin Buzz Aldrin stepped onto the moon. It was an incredible moment. For the first time in history, people walked on another world. Another 10 American astronauts visited the moon between 1969 and 1972. They did experiments and collected rocks and soil. They also drove a special car called a lunar rover or moon buggy. Space shuttles. In 1981, a new type of spacecraft flew for the first time. It was called a space shuttle. Space shuttles can fly into space many times because they take off like a rocket and they land like a plane. They have taken very big things into space, like the Hubble Space Telescope. Space stations. A space station is a place in space where astronauts can live and do experiments. The first space stations were very small. But the International Space Station, ISS, is much bigger. It was built in space. The first astronauts visited it in 1998. Now, teams of astronauts from different countries live and work on the space station all the time. Living in space. If you drop something on Earth, it falls to the ground because of gravity. In a spacecraft, astronauts don't feel gravity because their spacecraft is moving very fast. This is called zero gravity, and you can float. In space, things float, so astronauts use a material called Velcro to stick everything to the walls. Astronauts cook food in special containers, and they use a special shower because water floats too. They also use special sleeping bags to stop them floating when they sleep. Gravity makes you strong on Earth because you exercise your body every time you walk or lift something. Your body doesn't do this in space, so astronauts can become weak. They have to use exercise machines to keep strong.
Discover.
The ISS orbits Earth once every 90 minutes. It's difficult for astronauts to sleep because the sun rises or sets every 45 minutes. Astronauts wear masks over their eyes.